G'day guys, Jared McMillan here, J&J Rural. It has come to that time. It is Tuesday evening, and as promised, on Tuesdays we follow up with the answers from the Howcome Humpday videos of the previous week. So, last week's question was, how come people think the barbed wire is what keeps your cattle in? Now, as previously disclosed, I am biased on this one. I hate barbed wire. I think it's horrible stuff. And there are reasons as to why that is. We will be exploring those reasons tonight. Somewhat in a condensed version. I think in future we will do a bit more of a proper episode purely to, wires or types of wires you should be using and for what purposes. But for tonight's purpose, we're not talking about so much just the actual wire itself, but the barbs, the business end of it, the sharp bits, the bits that are supposed to be the reason that keeps the cattle in. So tonight we have a special guest joining us, and if I may, I will shift this camera over, bring her into the view. There we go. Now, this is Jo from the Hunter Wildlife Rescue Service. Say good day, Jo.
Hey guys.
Now, full disclosure, this is Jo's kitchen. Almost as much as it's my kitchen, because it is my domain. We did have a scheduling conflict with another representative of the wildlife service, but for the sake of keeping the show going,
Not pointing the finger in the Alana.
well, let's bring in the next closest candidate.
Leaving me hanging.
Joanne is my wife, and yes, I'm punching a little bit up above my weight, which is quite heavy. Anyway, so to help us with the answers of these questions tonight, firstly, we're going to ask a few more questions, and the first one is going to be, what effects have you found that barbed wire have on wildlife, and more importantly, the native wildlife? Not only the native, but all wildlife, but native wildlife.
So I think people seem to forget when they put fencing in, especially the barbed wire fences, is animals don't understand that the barbed wire will hurt them. They don't, stop staring at me. They don't get the drift that if they touch it, they're going to get caught. So 9 times out of 10, an animal will fly down, get their barbs, the barbs will catch on their wings, or their kangaroos will get tangled. They'll try and go through it, under it, or over it, and they generally get hooked on it. We've had baby joeys have their ears ripped off whilst in the pouch because they've poked their head out at the wrong time. We've had flying foxes caught on the barbed wire just trying to get to some water. They're just flying down and scooped on the fences. So when the animals get caught on the fences, they don't understand how it works to be able to untangle themselves. They just go for gold and just go wild and crazy and frantic and just tear themselves to shred. 9 times out of 10 also the animal doesn't make a full recovery and has to be euthanized if it's found. If it's not found, then they die a long, slow, painful death hanging on your fence.
Now, I can personally attest to that, testify to that. I do a lot of slashing work on the side, and I come across a lot of fences that have kangaroo carcasses tangled up in them, hanging upside down, and they've been mauled by ants, picked to the bone by ants, and who knows how many days do those poor animals sat there thrashing about and just copping a flogging to die a crappy, slow and horrible death because nobody knew that they were there. If you walk your fence lines every day, then, well, you know what, good for you, but most people don't. And there is oftentimes not even just one, but 3 or 5 or whatever of these animals that have sat there and copped a flog. And you know what? Maybe you don't care about they're a pest and whatever. They're kangaroos. That's well and good. What about your fence? Your fence is copping a flogging while this thing's sitting there beating, trying to break free. Your fence is going, getting shaken to buggery. So that's not good for that either. Now, as Joe said, barbed wire is not a natural occurrence. So wildlife, whether they're native or an invasive species, doesn't matter. They don't know. Just stay clear of it. They're just doing their thing, bounding along the landscape. All of a sudden they get hung up. And it's not a good thing. So, yeah, that being said, it's all well and good to want to be, aware of the troubles of barbed wire. But if you already have a property, or if you lease a property and it has barbed wire on it, then you're limited to what you can do about that. So there are things that you can do to make your fence more wildlife appropriate. And Joe, what would you recommend?
So recommending for the wildlife, something they can see. So whether it's a sight wire, whether it's electric fence, just like the hot tape, whether you can just hang some little streamers off your fence, spray paint your top wire, or possibly remove at least the top wire of barb and put a plain wire. It's only the one strand, don't have to do the whole fence, just the one strand. Just make it visible. They don't know it's there, especially at the night time when they can't see, and that's when most of our animals get caught up in their fences, and then they're in there for hours until the sun comes up when we are able to see them. But also, if they do get tangled in your fence, and as Jared pointed out, they destroy your fences, they can snap your wires and then your stock will get out anyway. So if we try and prevent that from happening, then the animals are okay, your stock stay without, and your fence doesn't get destroyed. Just make it visible for the little guys, they can see.
Makes sense. I look at fences for a living. And the amount of times you only have to stand back 30 meters off a fence and you can't see the wires in it half the time. So, we're humans with pretty small little eyeballs. And in daylight we can't see the wires. Well, how do you think that an animal's going to go at night time? It's got no hope. So, yeah, that's certainly a good tip there, or a bit of a point in the right direction. Just make your fences more visible. You don't even have to change anything. Just hang some signage on it. Run a bit of white sight wire. Or, it's not hard. You're going to get better longevity out of your fence. You're getting less abusive, abrasive pressures on your fence. You're gonna make it more visible for wildlife, more visible for pedestrians. Not even necessarily pedestrians, but just whoever. People on their motorbikes or whatever, they might be banging through the bush and they don't realise there's a fence there because of whatever reason. And if they don't see your wire, then wheat goes a clothesline. So make your fences visible is a good tip. Now, we're going to divert back a little bit, back to the original question of cattle. Now, there is a common misconception there with barbed wire that it's the barbs on the wire that keep the cattle in, and it is not. If you've seen the video where I asked the question, you can see quite clearly that I am playing with that wire and it does not hurt me. It didn't even leave a speck on me. Right? And to help prove my point, as a fencing contractor, when we work with barbed wire, we use leather gloves. Leather. Where does leather come from? It comes from a freaking cow. So if this cow's there, it A, doesn't understand what barbed wire is or the purposes of it. It doesn't have the brain capacity to think, oh, that's sharp, I don't want to touch it. But B, it's made of the hide that we then protect our hands with when we're actually physically grabbing it and wrapping it around it. I don't know, is it just nonsensical to think, to me it is, it's nonsensical to think that the barbed wire is going to penetrate the leather hide to the point where the cow experiences enough discomfort to not then test the pressures of the fence. Now this is a critical part. The part of the barbed wire that will, if it does, keep cattle in, is the tensile strength of the wire. Now I have to give it credit to Sam, who commented. Sam was very close with this one. He said that the wire allows expansion and contraction without breakage. Now yes, it does, because it is high tensile. Therefore it has a tensile strength where it will expand to a certain point, which is generally 2/3 of the breaking strain. If it goes past 2/3 of the breaking strain, it will not contract. But if it expands within that 2/3, it will contract back to its original form, hence being high tensile. It has tensile strength. That tensile strength, combined with the spacing between your line wires, is what stops your cow, your cattle, or whatever other animal from,
your bull,
or your bull, maybe, from fitting through it.
but it also doesn't destroy your rugs.
It doesn't destroy your rugs also. Now there is a great invention out there. It's called a braided wire. It is barbed wire without the barbs. Now barbed wire, if you're familiar with it, if you've ever worked with it, you'll know is a hinged knot on a braided wire. It's not the same wire. You can unwrap it and slip it off. Therefore, the tensile strength of the wire is in the braided wire itself, not the barbs. The only reason that keeps your cattle in is because your cattle can't spread the wires enough in certain circumstances to fit through the wires to get to the other side. Now, I will try and include a clip of an example of a cow squeezing through the wires. Now, I can't even count how many fences I've seen with cattle halfway through them. Right? The barbs don't do anything. The cattle are squeezing through the fences is because A, the spaces of their posts aren't close enough. B, the wire isn't tensioned to spec. Or C, both A and B together. Alright, so your best thing you can do is keep your post spacings close. You don't really want to go any more than 4 meters. The other thing is to keep the amount of line wires in that spacing cohesive and basically to spec of the required tension throughout that spacing, that opening, so that your cattle can't squeeze through it. So if you've got a 4 meter opening or more, you need at least 5 line wires, possibly even a dropper in there to keep the spread of those wires. The smaller the gap of your posts, the less more line wires you need, but you need to tension your wires to spec.
But nothing beats an electric fence. Just a plain wire electric fence.
Yes.
Can't beat it.
Good
And
old
if your cattle are still getting through that, up your voltage.
Yeah, and that is the other thing, right? Barbed wire was invented during the 1800s before mobile electric fence units. There was a purpose for it. The original barbed wire was a far different concept and design to what is widely accepted today. It more closely resembled razor wire, right? So originally barbed wire, yes, was designed for cattle. However, what we have now as barbed wire is not cattle fencing. It is just spiky, pain in the ass, clothes tearing fencing.
Rug tearing too.
Rug tearing too.
Forget the horses.
Yeah. 2 other points. One point we had, and I am interested to see if this is right. So if anybody out there has any connections to any insurance companies, you let me know. But there was a point out there that suggested that insurance companies like or see 5-strand barbed wire as being acceptable to keep livestock in. And therefore, if the livestock escape, then they'll cover it. Yeah.
Yeah, our insurance company never asked me what kind of fencing I had. I'm just insured for 20 million if the animals get out and kill someone. So they nice the fencing.
20 million. I might have to go cut some wires. And another reply we had is yes for bulls. Now, all right, you're talking bulls. You are talking about a ton of pure muscle.
I'm just going to stop you there for a second. I've seen bulls jump gates. Barbed wire is not your problem. Those things, they want to get out. They will get out.
Exactly.
They will climb anything.
You're talking about over a ton of muscle and testosterone, like the clankers on them. They're like this. Right? It's barbed wire. It's just not going to stop it.
No, barbed wire won't.
A little 16mm piece of wire with a point on it is not going to stop it. If that guy wants to chuck a sniff, he's going to get over the fence and have a sniff. If you're talking about keeping bulls in, make a bloody bull-proof fence, or at least try to. Get cattle rail and steel post and bloody bull-proof it.
Yeah, the barbed wire's not going to stop them.
No, your barbed wire's not going to stop it.
A gate won't stop them.
I'm not a bull, and barbed wire's not going to stop me from getting a sniff. All right? I squeeze through it, and I'm a human with a brain. Well, that's debatable. That's debatable. But, you know, I can at least have this foresight of thinking this fence has the possibility of hurting me, and I'm still going to probably try and cross it. So, I'm sorry, mate. But no. Anyway, if you have a barbed wire fence and you can prove to me that your cattle do not want to test it or touch it, because sticking your head through it, in my eyes, is a fail because your head's already through. Let us know, and we'll let you have it. But anyway, without getting too worked up, let's move on to the next point. If I want to find out more ways to build wildlife-friendly fencing, how do I go about it?
You go to wildlifefriendlyfencing.com. Literally the best place you can find that information about your wildlife. This is a pamphlet that we have, guys, that we're more than happy to post out to everybody if you'd like a copy. Otherwise, you can contact them yourself. It runs through some alternatives that you can use instead of barbed wire for the certain type of fencing that you need. It runs through the type of sights that you can put on the barbed wire just to try and show the animals that it's there. There's some examples of a kangaroo that's been hanging on the fence. Just a bird that's also got caught on a fence. But give them a call, guys, or jump on their website. It's www.wildlifefriendlyfencing.com.
And we will put the link to that in the description. And you should be able to print off whatever information you need. Now, that being said, if you want to jump on board and help with awareness of wildlife safe fencing, reach out to us, get in touch with us, and we can help with the distribution of pamphlets and other information as well.
That being said, if you do find any wildlife caught in the fencing, give us a call at Hunter Wildlife Rescue. We will come out wherever they are within our area, but if it's not in our area, we'll have other wildlife rescues in your area. Just give us a call. It's 0418-628-483. So it's 0418 native. And then we can direct you to somebody that's in your area, if you're out of our area, to go and help the wildlife. Do not try and untangle them off the fence yourself, because the animals are scared. They will hurt you out of fear, not because they intend to.
There you go. Now, as previously stated on another video, we do pride ourselves here at J&J of giving you raw footage where applicable and trying to go first take every time. I'm proud to say that this has been a first take. Now, I'm quite used to standing in front of the camera, making a bit of an idiot of myself, stumbling, and ahhing, and whatever else goes along with it. I think, if I may speak for the both of us and everybody else, I think Joanne here has done a great job. I shouldn't call her Joanne.
No.
She hates Joanne.
I do.
Joe.
I do.
For somebody who's a little bit camera shy, and this has been unscripted. I did write down the 3 questions earlier, just to give her a bit of a heads up.
Because I
So
hate
she
being
can
put on the
prep herself.
spot. And I had to get my pamphlets, guys. Could not have these.
The thing, you know, doing these things first take every time, you're getting the raw footage, you're getting the emotion behind it. It's not rehearsed, it's not scripted. This is what it is. There is a passion to why we do what we do, and there is a reason for that as well. One of the things for me as a fencing contractor is I want to try and help you guys be aware that you do have options out there as to what sort of fence you choose. But the main thing is that you choose the right fence for your needs, for your landscape, and it's going to serve the purposes that you need and for the right reasons, not just because you think that whatever you've seen done around the place is what needs to be done. That's not the case. You can do appropriate fencing for your right needs and help out the wildlife because they don't have a voice. We do.
And let's just hope you lasted the 20 minutes watching this video. Thanks, guys.
If you did, hit like, leave a comment. If you lasted the 20 minutes and you're local, I'll buy you a beer.
Oh, look out.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
See you next time.